And Niall Stange, White House columnist at The Hill. Niall, how explosive is this?
It's very explosive, I think, Adrienne, because it takes the investigation into another realm or onto another level. It's quite clear now that we're not talking about misclassification of documents. We're talking, allegedly, about the conscious obstruction of a government investigation. That in itself makes this more grave. It's also interesting the government setting out its case in really more detail than we've ever seen before, even in that redacted affidavit, talking about how there were two attempts, one when documents were eventually provided at the start of 2022, another one under threat of subpoena, and yet that was still not all the documents in the former president's possession. So this is really ramped up in quite a significant way.
So is this the smoking gun that a number of people have been waiting for, and could it lead to potential charges?
It could lead to potential charges, yes. One thing that I think is worth emphasizing is that it's not crystal clear that the former president himself would be the person charged in that situation. Now, obviously, he could be. It's his home that has been raided. But the Department of Justice has never said it is directed at him. It has said it is investigating what it believes may have been crimes committed at Mar-a-Lago pertaining to these documents. But yes, certainly when you look at this evidence or this latest court filing, the likelihood of charges seems significant.
And again, you're saying that this would not necessarily name former President Trump as the one responsible for this.
That's right. There could be charges theoretically pressed against other people, including, for example, lawyers if they are found to have made false statements, or other people who handled these documents. Now, that is a hypothetical situation. It's also hypothetical that the former president could be charged. It's also hypothetically possible that no one could be charged in the end.
Okay, so whoever, whether it's a former president, or it is an attorney, or it is someone else who was aware of the situation, does this new development make the claim that there were lies about where these documents were being kept, or whether everything was turned over that was classified to the FBI?
It very directly implies that there were lies. It does not use that word, but it does say that what has unfolded casts serious doubt on earlier affirmations made by former President Trump's team that they had handed over all that was relevant to be handed over. The document makes clear that the FBI, in a matter of hours, as it put it, was able to uncover documents that the Trump team claimed had not been uncovered by a, quote, diligent search. So, you know, by supposition, that suggests a lie, even if the word is not itself used.
It does beg the question, though. The former president has been very adamant he wanted everything released, and that he and his team were abiding by the rules of the National Archives. If he wanted everything released, but he knew the documents were there, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. Well, this is one of the key points that you raise here, I think. There isn't really a way to reconcile what former President Trump claims and what the government claims. In broad terms, he has claimed that he has cooperated with this attempt to get documents back into the National Archives. There is simply no way that that can be true and the government's filing can be true, because the government's filing is all about this arduous process where they clearly feel they met very substantial resistance, if not outright deceit, in withholding documents. You just can't square that with what the former president is claiming.
All right, Niall Stange, thank you again. It just seems as though every time we make a break in this story, there are more questions than answers. Thanks, Niall.
For sure.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.